Allison Bouffard, and I'm here to talk to you today a little bit about using sign language in your classroom. I've been using it mostly in my kindergarten classroom, but I've used it also in first grade. And the things that I found it useful for are with classroom management, with engaging all different kinds of learners, and as well as practicing using your manners. So for management, I've taught the children to use the sign for listen. And if we're in the middle of listening to a story and they're not paying attention, all I do is put my hand up to my ear, and then the children know they all have to put their hands up to their ears, and they'll poke their friends and remind them that they have to also do the sign for listen. And it takes about 5 to 7 seconds, and then before you know it, everybody's paying attention. The next thing is the sign for bathroom, which is really helpful because they're not interrupting you when you have a reading group, or if you're in the middle of reading a story. All they do is sign that they need to use the bathroom, and you can simply nod that yes, it's an okay time to go, or you can sign no and let them know that it's not an appropriate time to go. The next sign would be wash. For example, if they have to wash their hands, all they need to do is show you the sign for wash, and you can let them know if it's an appropriate time to go and do that. And then also for tissue, great. They don't have to raise their hand and interrupt you to tell you that they need to go blow their nose or they need a tissue. They just sign, and then you can simply nod your head and let them go and get a tissue. The other thing is for manners. I've taught the children to use please. So if they are asking me for something, they can sign for please. I can ask them to do something while signing please. So it works out really nice for practicing their manners. The other thing is I'm sorry. If they bump into somebody, they can say I'm sorry. If it's a time where they need to be quiet, they can just sign without using the words. Otherwise, they can say the words and use the sign at the same time. And then finally, I've taught them thank you. Again, anytime something is passed out to them, they can sign for thank you. They can also say the words for thank you. But the fun thing that I've done is that when we have a door holder, each time the child passes through the door holder, they have to sign thank you to the door holder, and the door holder in return signs back, you're welcome. So you see all the kids going through the line signing thank you, and the door holder signing you're welcome, and all of the children in the other classes start to notice, and they wonder what my class is doing, and they pick up on it too. As they're going through the door, they start to sign thank you. So it's a nice way to spread sign language throughout the school, and it's also a nice quiet way of doing things, especially when you need the children to be quiet. One of the things that I like to do, especially at the beginning of the year when beginning to teach the signs, is to just teach 1 or 2 possibly signs a week. And then what I do is one at a time I add a sign up to the top above my bulletin board here. And each week we add more signs and a few more signs, and then as we do that, we gradually practice everyone daily, so that eventually by the end of the year, they have up here several signs that we're practicing every day, most of them the manner type signs. I also have up here an alphabet chart that has all of the letters and how to sign the letters for the alphabet. And then we also just use a regular alphabet chart to help us as we're learning the letters. And what I do at the beginning of the year is I choose about 6 letters at a time that I'm going to begin teaching them. So for example, I might start with A, B, C, D, E through F. And what I like to do is I like to teach the sign for the letter. So for example, A, then the sign that goes along with the short A sound, apple. And then I like to repeat the sound at the end. So I like to do A, apple, A. And then the children would repeat after me. Then I would continue. B, bear, B. Then I would move on to the next one. C, cat, K. D, dog, D. E, egg, E. And finally, F, fish, and then what we would do is we would practice that all week long, and then the following week I would introduce the next 6 letters with their sounds as well as their signs, and then during the week we would go back up to A and we would continue adding on each of the signs that we learned during the week until we've gotten all the way down to Z. And then by the time that we learn the whole alphabet, We continue it for weeks and weeks and weeks every day, going through the sounds, the letters, and the signs that go with them. And then as the year progresses, I have a volunteer come up, and the volunteer will lead us through the alphabet. And then I change it up a little bit sometimes, and I might alternate signs. So we might start with A, and then jump to C, and then jump to E, and skipping each letter to change it up for the children. The other thing is I might just point randomly to a sign, and we might sign for M, and then I would point to another sign, and so we would go through the alphabet randomly. A volunteer from the class can do that as well. And then also on some days we just say the ABCs, or even sing the ABCs. So we'd start A, B, C, D, and continue through the alphabet that way, so that way the children have fun just singing the song. The next way that I like to incorporate signs is throughout our calendar. Sometimes it's called morning meeting, or sometimes it's called circle time. When we get to the days of the week, I've introduced each day of the week. So when the children are saying the date, for example, we might say today is Monday, and I would teach them the sign for Monday. And then as they would say today is Monday, for example, April 11th, and then they would say the year. And then we move over to this chart, and we talk about yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and this is another chance for us again to practice the days of the week, and I've also included a song to go along with that. So it goes Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And as I'm doing that, I'm pointing to each word. And the children point along with me. I'll have a volunteer come up and they sing with us. The other thing that we can do is we can identify the first letter of each word and talk about how the days of the week begin with a capital letter. So we would say Sunday begins with S, S. Monday begins with M, M. Tuesday begins with T, T, and continue throughout the days of the week. We can do the same thing with the months of the year. And again, talk about how each month begins with a capital letter and go through the whole 12 months of the year. Then we move over to our weather, and I've taught them the different signs for the weather, and what we like to use is sunny to go along with sun, cloudy, windy, rainy, and snowy. And so the weather person will come up and they'll tell us what it is for the day. So for example, today is snowy. Everybody participates and they'll say the weather with us so that it's not just the weather person's job. I like to teach one sight word a week. So what I would do is at the beginning of the week, I'll introduce the word. Towards the middle of the year, once all of the children know each of the signs that go along with the letters, I'll begin to incorporate using finger spelling with the sight words. And I put all of the sight words that we need to learn for the year on a PowerPoint presentation just like this so that each week they're ready for me. And what I'll do is I'll introduce the word like, and then I'll practice spelling, and they'll repeat after me. L-I-K-E, like. And then we'll say it 3 times, finger spelling each time and then saying the word. And then I'll ask for a few volunteers to give us a sentence using the word like. Another thing that you can do is you can put your sight words on a piece of paper, whether or not they have the letters underneath it, and you can have the children practice the words either before they come into the classroom or before they line up or before they pack, and you can show them the word and they either have to say the sight word or they could say the sight word and finger spell it at the same time. So again, they might come up to the word and you would show it to them and they'd say like, L-I-K-E, like. And then maybe they could line up or they could go and get their backpack. So that's just another way to include the finger spelling as well as learning the sight words at the same time. Something else that you can use is a picture frame that has the sight words on them. And each time that you learn a sight word, you can add a new one to the frame. So that way, when the children are writing, they can look at this as a reference to figure out how to spell the words. So something else that you can do to incorporate sign language, either as a morning activity or right at their table or during a center activity, is I've made up a bunch of different cards that have each letter of the alphabet and how to make the sign. So what they would do is you can leave it on your table and each person would turn over a card. For example, this child turned over a J. So they would sign J. And then they would look to see if there's a sight word that begins with the letter J on the chart. If there is not, then they turn the card over. And it's still a way for them to practice looking at all of the sight words, just looking for that J letter. Then they could turn over the next one. They turned over an M. They would say M and sign for M. Then they would look for a word that begins with M. And there it is, me. M-E, me. They could also finger spell it. M-E, me. Or for you to see, M-E, me. And then they would put the card down. And they could pass around the cards to everybody at their table or if they're working with a partner. And they could go through the whole alphabet several times. You could also change it and have them look for a word that ends with that letter, for example, which there would be not as many of those words, but still a way for them to look through each of the words and practice the letter cards. For the children who need more practice with their sight words, I put the words that they need to know on an index card and then hole punch it and put it together with a ring so that they stay together. Then they would practice the words daily and the teacher could check in with them, a partner could practice with them, or they could also take them home and have their parents practice. The children would say each word, come. And then what I found is if they practice finger spelling with the word, it helps them to remember how the word is written and also how to read the word. So for example, you might see a child sitting with their card saying come. C-O-M-E, come. And then they would move to their next card. Look. L-O-O-K, look.
L-I-K-E, like.